All right. I guess we'll bring up the people.
I was gonna say, I think you have the wrong face. No, I'm just kidding.
I got the wrong face, but
How to click the buttons just like everybody else.
It's fine, Clyde. You still look fabulous with that green turtle shirt on. Turtle power, my friend.
I was so happy I found this. I had almost forgotten that I had it, but yeah, so perfect.
I love it. I have to get myself one of those one day. Yeah. Oh, goodness gracious. It is. It's good to be here. It's good to see everybody. Greetings and salutations. Happy Flashback Friday. It is the Multiverse FunRaiser 2023. Thank you all for having us. My name is Ryan of Nerd Culture. I'm going to be your host for this panel. I'm going to be your moderator, not mediator, guys. I don't know if I want to work in that type of office.
Referee, Brian.
I don't know if I want to work in that type of office environment, but I am happy to be a moderator, which is the correct term that we're going to be using over the course of this broadcast. But it's good to see you all. Please welcome our special guest at this time. He has played so many different characters on so many different shows. He's a wonderful person inside and out, I'm sure. Oh. Chris Gauthier is here. Chris, am I saying that right? Is it Gauthier?
Gaucher.
I'm so
like
sorry.
Gochay.
I'm sorry that I butchered that.
That's all right. That's all right.
I'm probably going to lose 5 or maybe 10 Republic credits for that, but it's all right. I'm sure I can go back to Tatooine and have something to drink.
That's all right. That's all right.
Something to have at the Mos Eisley spaceport. You would never find the more wretched hive of scum and villainy. Anyway, we're not here to talk about that. But Chris, it's so good to see you. Thank you so much for being here. I got to ask you right off the bat, if you don't mind. Do you have any favorite memories of the one and only John Ritter, or any connections to the John Ritter Foundation for Aortic Health there, Chris?
Absolutely. He was the king of physical comedy. I mean, I remember going home. I remember watching Three's Company with my mom. It was like a tradition. It was a ritual, essentially. I think any actor worth his salt in any kind of like physical comedy would have watched John Ritter and recognized the genius for what it was.
Absolutely. Cannot agree with you more. That is a fair point. Is there a favorite movie or appearance that John made in the past that you enjoy watching the most?
I think just the Three's Company. I mean, it was such an integral part of my growing up. Like, honestly, my mom and I would watch that together religiously.
Oh, man. That's amazing. 2 thumbs way up.
Yeah, way up.
Yeah. So for the Multiverse FunRaiser, which is presented by Back of the Cereal Box, I got to ask you this. What was your favorite Saturday morning cartoon, and what was your favorite breakfast cereal to eat while watching that said cartoon?
There was a few. I loved Captain Caveman. I might be dating myself with that one. Great mate. But Captain Caveman, bar none. And Cinnamon Toast Crunch wasn't around then, I don't think. But I probably would have had Fruit Loops. It's pretty standard, but there you go.
Yeah. Fruit Loops. Oh my gosh, all the magical colors, and you got the toucan trying to shove more into your bowl. You know
exactly. I mean? Give me that sugar. How are you guys?
Well, Clyde, I mean, you've been around for longer than I have, let's be perfectly honest. So I'm just curious, Clyde.
See the end in life. Yes, it's true. I'm old.
Okay. How would you answer that, though, Clyde? Any thoughts?
I'm sorry?
Any thoughts? Favorite Saturday morning cartoon or favorite breakfast cereal?
Oh, Johnny Quest, when I was young, was of course, it was made for prime time. So that explains a lot. The quality was quite high, production values and the humor. But yeah, that was kind of that and Space Ghost. Alex Toth. Yeah. That was those were first run kind of things when I was little. And breakfast cereal, it was kind of hard to beat Quisp or Quake. And it was back and forth. You don't know Quisp and Quake?
No.
Oh, we got a little spaceman that was Quisp, and they had kind of a oat with sugar encrusted, kind of like UFOs. And then Quake was an Australian superhero guy, and he had like big nuggets that very similar kind of flavor. But they were always debating back and forth about the folks that did the Rocky and Bullwinkle show, Jay Ward Productions, did these cartoons where they were both fighting back and forth all the time. So that was the most memorable cereal from back then.
Interesting. Well, I guess for me it would be Frosted Flakes because they're great. And, yeah, Tony and I are good friends, by the way. Tony the Cereal Tiger, good to see you. I hope you're watching this at home.
Name dropping.
Yeah, sorry. You know, I may have a few famous friends here and there. Whatever. Who knows? But I guess what was it? Saturday morning cartoon. This was a live action, so that wouldn't count. But I'm gonna flip that. I'm gonna go with Spider-Man. I'm
Yeah,
gonna go with Spider-Man the animated series of the '90s because I'm a '90s kid and Fox
Yeah.
Kids was a thing
yeah.
back in the '90s, and I'm not ashamed to say it. The '90s were great, not just for cereal,
Have
but
you
for
guys
Saturday
seen
morning cartoons as well.
Have you guys seen Captain Caveman?
Oh yeah.
I don't believe I have.
And the
You should
Teen
look-
Angels.
you should look it up. It's trippy. It's so. He had like
Is
a
it?
cave. Was it on the top of a van
Mhm.
that he lived in? And he would just come out and he would be insane. He'd go, Captain Caveman. Oh,
Gee, gee whiz, because Kristen
look
Marie
him up,
chimes in.
man.
She
I kid you
Yeah,
not.
she says Captain Caveman, and then also Molly Daniels says Captain Caveman rocks. So goodness gracious.
Taste.
Well, Chris, let me ask you this: what was your experience like working on such films as there was Agent Cody Banks, Once Upon a Time? You were the guy in the Surveillance Van. Didn't have a name actually. You were just known as Surveillance Van Agent or whatever it was.
Oh, well,
Yeah, you didn't even have a name in the credits because I looked it up. What was your experience working on that?
oh, it was incredible. It was so good. Frankie was great. And of course, for me, I just got to be comic relief. So like farting in a van is like my bread and butter. And being the gadgets guy, I mean, you know, being the sort of Q. I don't know if I was the inventor of such gadgets, but I definitely got to give them to Frankie. It was crazy. It was a big deal. I was on it for a good portion of it. I had a lot of days on that show, and it was one of my first big movies that I did. So all the trappings, like all the cool sets, all the cool props, everything. It was absolutely amazing.
Oh man, that is some great stuff.
But-
I remember watching that film a number of times. You know,
Yeah,
so
yeah. It would have been. What year did it come out? Like
2003 actually, 2003.
2003. Okay,
Yeah, around. Yeah, I believe it was 2003. Yeah, it's 2003 if I remember correctly.
Yeah.
I don't know. I can always Google it after the show, see if I can be
think
correct.
it was around there for sure. It was like 10 plus years ago for sure.
Mm-hmm.
But I do remember showing up and looking the way I do. Like, you know, you would expect one of these guys to be like a suit wearing type fellow. But whenever I would pull up to like a new location, they'd be like, extras parking is over there. And you have to pull out the card and go, oh, actually, I'm an actor on this.
Mm-hmm.
And they go, oh, you're an actor, are you? It happens. It happens.
Oh, I see. Now, moving away from the comedy aspect for just a bit here, there was a mini-series. It was made into it was a television movie / mini-series. It was called Earthsea.
Yeah.
Yeah, the fantasy adventure genre. What was it like working in that, especially Earthsea? Because Earthsea looked really cool.
Earthsea was so awesome. I mean, it's kind of a shame they didn't get to use proper representation because, as I understand it, in the Ursula K. Le Guin books, my character was meant to be played by a black or brown person. So I was like, you know, I kind of benefited from a bad thing there. But it was incredible. I mean, we were on the ocean, we were in the mountains, we had such really cool locations. And then we did like a massive stint that happened to be just like, I don't know, like 2 kilometers away from me. So when we were in studio, it was like a quick drive down there. And then when we were on location, it was just these beautiful exotic locations. I mean, we were in the ocean for, I don't know, like a week and a half or something like that. Just Sean and I in this like rickety, tiny little like movie boat. So like it was seaworthy, but it was, I don't think it was, you know, like it wouldn't have passed a lot of inspections, maybe. It was just like a rickety thing. And it had to look like a sort of fantasy genre style boat, right? It was great. It was so much fun. And it was so nice to be there throughout the entire journey. It's always nice when you're on a show and you kind of get to feel it from beginning to end, you know, and to be a part of it. It's tough sometimes as a character actor because you come in for 1 or 2 episodes and you're the new guy. And you just get sort of a taste of that set. So with this set, it was incredible because we were all there together. We were all a family. We were all supportive of each other. It was pretty amazing. And I feel like the final product looked really good too.
Absolutely. You had a number of actors that you work with Mr. Iceman himself from X-Men,
Yeah.
Sean, and you
Oh,
had
yeah,
Kristen
sure.
Crook, who played Lana on the hit TV series Smallville. We'll get to that
Yeah.
later.
Yeah.
And a whole bunch of other stuff. By the way, if you are just joining us for the first time, make sure you like and share this video with all of your closest friends. If you have any questions for Chris, I should say, geez, my words, let us know in the comments. Let us know in the chat. We'll bring them up as we can. No problem there. So with that being said, let's address that for a second. And for those of you who may be wondering, why is this person wearing a red jacket and a blue shirt? Well, because they were worn by the iconic character known as Clark Kent in the hit TV series known as Smallville. Chris, you've had a hand in that legacy of Smallville. You played not one, but two
That's
very
right.
different characters. You were a
Yeah.
LuthorCorp technician in the beginning of your
Yeah.
time on set, and then later on you played Toyman. What was the experience like working with Tom Welling and company?
So doing the LuthorCorp technician, Michael, what's his last name
Oh,
again?
Rosenbaum.
Rosenbaum,
Yes.
of course. Michael Rosenbaum was friggin' great. He invited me into his trailer and I was a relatively new actor at the time, so it was quite sort of thrilling. And then he'd be like, "We're just gonna like improvise a little bit," and I'm like, "It's kind of out of my pay grade," but he's like, "Just do it, just do it, just do it. It'll be fun." So we had a lot of fun on that one. I'm not sure any of the improv made it to the final cut, but so that was a very early job, and it was incredible. And then moving to Toyman was amazing. That was around the time of Dexter was really big. So I kind of did my own interpretation of Dexter to audition for the role. And that's kind of where my Toyman came from, because he's not, as you know, doesn't have like powers per se. He's just sort of like this genius that like makes toys into bombs. So it was great to play that, and I had to bring the sinister from somewhere else. I couldn't rely on like zapping somebody or crazy strength or whatever. So it had to be sort of menacing. Otherwise, it was one of the funnest departures for me, because prior to that I had basically been doing sort of like LuthorCorp technician style roles or just funny stuff. So to get to be, like dark and ominous was a massive gift, and I really thank Smallville for that.
Yeah, and there's actually a fun fact about your time on Smallville. During the blooper reels that came out on the DVD or the Blu-ray releases of Smallville with each season respectively, there's a blooper reel in I believe it's season 3, where you play the LuthorCorp technician, where you're in the facility and Rosenbaum is walking by you, and this was during the blooper reel, so this was kind of like improv and things like that. He says to you, Mr. Luther, oh, hey, long-haired freak, where's Molly? Molly? Yeah, she loaned me this last night. Oh, thank you. I was looking for it. It's not porn, is it? So what if
I
it
haven't
is?
seen it.
Yeah. Oh, it's on YouTube. You can find it.
You just look up bloopers,
Smallville bloopers, and it's
Okay.
there.
And it's it's early
Season 3.
Season 3. Okay.
Yeah.
Thanks.
It's there. Yeah. It says it's not what, is it? And then you say to him, well, what if it is? And then he's like, I'm gonna. And then you yell at him. You're like, don't do it, don't do it. And then you just run off set. You just run.
So at least it made it to blooper reels. That's incredible.
It did.
Yeah. Good.
Yes, it did. And I thought that was one of the funniest bloopers of Smallville I'd seen.
But he was so like that. He was like, let's just have fun. And when a set welcomes you, and you're allowed just to mess around, it's otherworldly. It's incredible.
It absolutely is. I couldn't help myself but laugh during those.
As you should.
It's too good for words. Gee whiz. Yeah. It just gives you the most random name in the book. Hey, long-haired freak, where's Molly?
Yeah. Good times, man. It's good times.
I'm not sure if you're aware of this or not, but Michael Rosenbaum and Tom Welling host a show called Talkville, where they're going back and watching all the episodes of the show.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
I think
so. If you get an opportunity, you should go on that show when you do make your appearance in season 3. You should be a guest on their show.
I should be in there.
Yeah.
I'd like to wait until it's Toyman.
Oh, okay, that's fair.
Yeah.
That's fair. Yeah, granted, that's not going to be for.
That would be a little bit more for me to chew on.
Mm-hmm.
So
no, that's true. That's fine. That isn't going to be for a while because they only drop one episode a week.
Right.
So you're going to be waiting.
It's going to be a slog.
Just a little bit. Just a little bit.
2025, here I come.
Exactly. Molly Daniels is here with us. She has a question for you, and that question is, what was your favorite episode of Eureka?
Oh, this is a funny one because it was the one where I was running for mayor, and Fargo was my guy. That one was incredible, except that I was wearing a suit, and it was the dead of summer. It was so hot, and I don't know if you're aware, but I'm a little bit big boned, um, and so for me it was torturous, but at the same time to have all that sort of like pomp and circumstance around me was incredible. There's too many to name. There was the one with me, Spencer, Fargo. We were all in the trailer. It was like sort of a bottle episode one. That one was incredible. There's so many. There's so many. But the one where I was running for mayor was really cool. And the last one, I think the last one, just because it was so special, and we had Will there, Will Wheaton, and it was just really emotional. I'm kind of a sucker for tugging on the heartstrings. So.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. And there's nothing wrong with that at all.
No.
Of course not. With Eureka, great stuff. And then you go on to, and hence, I may be wearing a red jacket, but you had to wear a red beanie during the course of your stint on a wonderful show known as Once Upon a Time as Mr. Shmee.
Mr. Shmee.
Mr. Shmee. What are some of your favorite moments about working on Once Upon a Time?
The whole thing. I know that's like a cop-out answer, but like right from the very start, during the audition process, obviously these things have to be hush hush, and it wasn't Mr. Smee in the sides. But I kind of had a sense that that's who it was, so I did sort of a Bob Hoskins style accent, sort of talking like that and all that, and so I went through the audition process, and they had me come back in. They had me do it sort of more contemporary, more just my voice, which they ended up going with. And then they brought me back, and they wanted the Hoskinsy thing. And at this point, I knew it was me. And it was still undecided. I had booked the part, but it was still undecided as to what accent I was going to be using. So I prepared it both ways. And then my first scene was on the ship when I met Hook, Colin O'Donoghue, of course. And I still didn't know at that point. And I just said, what do you want? And they just said, well, just do it contemporary just to be safe or whatever. And so that's how it happened. And Colin and I came on at the same time. So it was nice to have somebody coming up with me into the show. But amazing. Like, we got to do the stuff on the Jolly Roger is actually, I can't remember the name of the ship. I'm sure somebody will say it. But it's a real ship that trains people to work on ships. So we had that for the weekend, and we're actually out. And this thing was like a Cadillac. I mean, you would look out to the land, and you would see a landmark, and then you would go about doing the scenes and stuff like that. You wouldn't feel it move at all, and then suddenly you'd look out, and you would be like miles down the coast. It was that smooth. And funnily enough, when we did the stuff in studio, they had it going like this constantly. So it was easier on the old Gutteroony to do it on the ocean than it was to do it in the studio, funnily enough. But the whole process was amazing. I got to work with Emily. I got to work with Rumpelstiltskin. Was so good. That was like a masterclass in acting because he was in full Rumple makeup, and I just remember being petrified, which I was supposed to be, so it kind of helped there. But it was amazing.
Absolutely, yeah. And what was it? Robert Carlyle, who portrayed Rumpelstiltskin. He's a master. He's a hashtag lack of boss. Because I actually just finished watching him play the character of Dr. Rush on Stargate Universe.
Yeah.
Fantastic stuff. If you have not seen that, Chris, you should definitely watch Stargate Universe.
Yeah, I should. I was on Stargate Atlantis, and I was on Stargate SG-1, but I was never on that one.
Didn't give you the trifecta?
They didn't give me the trifecta. Shame on them. Shame on them, I say.
I wonder why. Because then you could have worked with Rumple again.
Yeah, that would have been cool. I tell you though, man, it was like, he is so good. And he says what he did in his process was he would, as Rumpelstiltskin, pick up a little bit of everybody that he sort of engaged with. and he would sort of suck the kind of like sinisterisms or the attributes that could benefit Rumpelstiltskin out of each of those characters. So there would be, if you go back and watch it again, you watch him carefully, he's got bits of everybody in him, in his performance. It's amazing. And he's so engaging. Like, you don't have to act, you just have to sit across from him and react. There's certain actors you can do that with. Do you understand what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
you don't have to put anything on.
Mm-hmm.
Amazing.
Yeah. I definitely understand where you're coming from in that aspect. Kristen Marie is here. Kristen, I wonder who that could be. She chimes in. She says, "Do you have any funny stories from the Eureka set, Chris?"
Oh, it was all just tomfoolery. It was so much fun. I mean, I had a lot of stuff with Fargo, with Neil Grayson, and we would just goof. We would just make little videos and stuff. I'll post one. I think it's on my Instagram already, but I'll put it back to the top of the page after this. We would make videos together all the time and like just goof off. It was great. We did like sort of like Silent-y style films and stuff. It was really like, that was the show that introduced me to sort of the familial aspect of film. You have it in theater all the time, but in film you don't necessarily get that unless you're recurring on a show or something. So basically any tomfoolery with Neil. Colin was great too. Colin joked around all the time too.
Fantastic stuff. Fantastic stuff. You know, you mentioned something about Rumple being sinister. Well, I don't think there's anything more sinister than being stabbed through the chest by Jason Voorhees in a little indie film called Freddy versus Jason.
Yeah.
So
I grew up as a Jason fan, and I feel bad because I love my scene with Jason. But Nightmare on Elm Street was the creme de la creme of horrors when I was growing up. Campy be it, but just his sense of humor, it was so macabre and so like, I think before films became self-aware about their sort of like silly gags and stuff like that. So I was a massive fan of that and really wanted to be killed by Freddy. But Jason was the second place, and it was super, super fun too. It was a night shoot when we did the machete through the chest scene, and I ended up crashing my car the morning after because we worked from like, I think it was like 5 p.m. till about 6 a.m. And that's a whole other kind of story. But the cornfield stuff, like getting to be that Shaq character, that like ignorant jock, like who you just love to watch get killed, was amazing. It was so much fun. I mean, there's a lot of work that goes into it too. I have what's called a squib. So that's a thing that will shoot blood out. This particular squib had a hose running from my chest, down my pant leg, out of my pant leg, and then about 100 feet back. So they had this like thing like kind of ready to go. So the blood would have been about there. The hole in my shirt was about here. And kind of on impact, when the director shouted, like, he's hit, you would have to just like gush the blood out. And you can see in the film too, I'm like running with blood in my mouth. You can see my cheeks kind of puffed up like that. So it's interesting doing that kind of stuff. It's awkward, but that's the magic of movies. They make it look as cool as it does, or however it comes out. And that was one of my favorites in sort of like a childhood dream standpoint, to be a part of like not only just one of those franchises, but both of them married together was incredible.
Well, it truly was a mashup.
It was a mashup.
It really was. Once again, this is the Multiverse FunRaiser benefiting the John Ritter Foundation for Aortic Health. If you are just joining us, thank you so much for being here. Don't forget to like and share this video with all of your closest friends. If you want to learn more, you want to make a donation, the link is being scrolled across the bottom of your screen. The links are located within the description of this video as well. We're talking with Chris Gauthier. Am I saying that right? Got it. Yes.
G-O-C-H-A-Y. Gauthier.
I get my 10 points back. Fantastic. Thank you. Public credits. The parental credit no good here. Anyway,
you're doing well. You did better than a lot of people do. I've had everything from Gauthier to Gunther. I was actually credited in Insomnia as being Chris Gunther. Like in the actual credits. I don't know how they got that. There's all these contracts you have to sign, so my name's like clearly written. And then I went to the movie theater to watch it, and it was Chris Gunther, Gunther. Maybe it was like somebody just said, I don't know, it's like Gunther or something.
boy, the mistakes that have been made over the course of time.
Very
My
peculiar.
goodness gracious. Oh boy. Molly Daniels is here once again. She has a question. She says, "Do you plan to appear at any Comic Cons this year?"
It's never out of the question. I was on the Once Upon a Time cons, and those were great. We did, I don't know how many, a whole bunch, probably like 5 or 6 a year from, I don't know, 2017 maybe it was 2016. I'm not totally sure. But we had like karaoke events at the thing. It was like Friday karaoke and then or Saturday karaoke and then like just so many fun things. And I hosted a lot of those as well, which was really great. I'm always open to it. It's just a matter of timing and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, I mean, if you ask for me, they may.
Well, I would say you are certainly one guest that everyone should invite to their conventions, if I do say so myself. But with that being said, we've gone all over the map here. But for just a moment, with your time on Smallville, you actually worked with Lois Lane herself, Erica Durance, on a movie called The Butterfly Effect 2.
Yeah. Yeah, it was a
Yeah.
very quick. That was like I said before about like just jumping into a show. I think I had like 2 days maybe on that show.
Oh wow.
It's hard to get sort of like into those, or like to bring back a lot of stuff from it. It was a fun shoot. I'm sure there was David James Lewis was also in that one, who I worked with on Harper's Island, and probably many other things. It's such an insular world here in Vancouver. If you work, you generally work, and you work with a lot of the same people. But yeah, it was fun. It was great.
Oh, there you go. There you go. And you did mention Harper's Island. Any fun stories from the set of working on that?
Man, that show was crazy. Nobody knew when they were going to die. None of us. So as the audience didn't know, they wanted to sort of keep that with us. So they would, if it was your time to go, you would get a call from the producer. So if you ever saw the producers come up on your phone, you were like, "Oh shit, pardon me, oh poop," and so they would say, "Are you sitting down?" Or would you like to sit down for it? This is like the day before the scripts come out for the next episode type thing. Are you sitting down? Would you like to sit down? So I'm afraid at the end of this one, you go. So it was an interesting way to kind of like um, to navigate that environment, but also really cool. Like as long as you kind of just were content to go whenever, you were fine. But if you were, like if you were really ego driven about it and you really, um, saw your value as being really, really high on the show or something, or you wanted to be the killer, you would be sadly disappointed. But it was every day was an adventure on that one. Again, that was kind of like an Earthsea one where we got to go out into the woods, and I love how they represented the supernaturalness of where we shoot, like Vancouver. It's a beautiful, beautiful place. Yeah, and then just all the sets and just the inventive ways that they ended up killing us off. I think it was like far too far ahead of its time. I feel like that type of show in today's context would be something everybody would be clamoring about. And I'm kind of regretful that they didn't do it later for that reason. It was so much fun. And we all bonded, and like there was gifts given out to the person that was gonna, be off to that week. It was amazing. I still hang out with Sean Rogerson to this day.
Oh, that's fantastic. That's fantastic. And yeah, that's such actors and actresses on there included. I believe Christopher Gorham was on there.
Yeah, Chris Gorham, he was great. He was great. I had a really sort of tender scene with him, and that was just amazing. It was just he and I in the room, and just so tender. It was lovely.
Yeah, I remember Chris Gorham playing a role on Jake 2.0. I really like that show too.
Oh yeah.
That was certainly a good one.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Is there a movie that you can watch over and over again and not get tired of it?
I like The Fisher King. I can watch over and over again. It's so textured. It's with Robin Williams.
Oh, the late great Robin, yeah.
The late great Robin Williams, and who probably would have. He did know John Ritter actually, but it was he I don't want to give much away, but he was like this sort of big dude. He was like he got Robin Williams, and his wife gets shot. And so he kind of throws everything away. And Jeff, his life to be a houseless person and live on the streets. And he lives in this and it's Terry Gilliam who directs it. So you can imagine sort of the dwellings of these people, like kind of under the bridge. And it's just this like magnificent, crazy sort of dwelling that these people all live in. And then it's Jeff Bridges, I think. I'm going to just bring it up. It's Jeff Bridges, and he's this like really cynical radio sort of DJ, a Howard Stern type of guy. And so basically these two end up meeting up, and then they sort of have this journey together. And it's about sort of being cynical and becoming uncynical and being human. And I feel that Terry Gilliam just has such a beautiful, profound way of exemplifying that sort of thing. It's so colorful and trippy as well. Like it's everything good and juicy.
I'm gonna have to add that to my watch list.
You haven't seen Fisher King? Oh my!
As much as I love Robin, I always have and always will. There are still some films within his filmography that I have yet to see, and that's just one of them.
Yeah, dude, you will not. It's 91.
Yeah.
So that might be part of the reason.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's
I was
Jeff
a bit young.
Bridges.
I was only 4. I was only 4 at the time.
Yeah. So fair dues. Fair dues. So Jeff Bridges. Oh man, so many good. Laura Harris.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah. I won't go into listing all the actors. But yeah,
what?
Trust me on this one. Watch it. First time I saw it, I just went out and I cried. I was so I was so touched. I was so moved by it. And it's an epic adventure. It's kind of like a quest for the Holy Grail type thing, as well.
Okay, that's fair. That's fair. Granted, when I think of the Holy Grail, I'm thinking of Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade.
Well, there's kind of this parallel between knights and stuff like that. You'll see in the movie. It's amazing. It's Terry Gilliam, so he was a member of Monty Python, right? So it's all just this inventive, absolutely trippy stuff.
That's a fair point. You have to add it to my list. Comic Books The New Class, which I believe is being helmed by our good friend Crayley. She chimes in. She says, "Loved you so much in the TV in Supernatural. One of my favorite plots within the show, and you played Ronald's character so well."
Ah. Thank you. Thank you so much. That was one of the most nurturing things that I've done as an actor, because if you haven't seen this episode, he's this conspiracy theorist who the boys come over. They know he happened to work at this bank, and I worked at this bank where this robbery took place or whatever. And I worked with this fellow named Juan, who I believe was taken over by a mandroid. And he plays it like he honestly believes it. And he talks about, he has this whole plot in his head where the mandroid could be moving to next and all this kind of stuff. And he was such a lovely, lovely character. He really believed it. And the boys got all this valid information from my character, Ronald, and went to the next bank. But I happened to be doing sort of my own vigilante mission also. And I went to the bank and I took over the bank because I wanted to stop this mandroid. And I end up kind of helping them throughout this episode. And it's just really sweet. It was so nice to be this tender man. And also to be able to get to shoot a gun in a bank was pretty amazing. Legitimately. Like they had a squib in the ceiling and I just went in and fired off blanks and the ceiling was like dust falling down. It was incredible. Yeah.
I was not aware of this. By the way, Crayley chimes in once again. She says, "I was right. Not about the mandroid thing, but about the rest of it."
Yeah, he feels like he was right. He gets justified, and the boys kind of like say, you did a good job. Except for Sam, he didn't like Sam, and he tells him as much. If you haven't seen the episode, you should watch it. It works as a standalone too.
More things to be added to my watch list.
Do it.
After this show, and Clyde Hall agrees with you in regards to a film known as The Fisher King. He says, Fisher King, one of the finest Jeff Bridges and Robin Williams films ever, as well as Amanda Plummer, too.
Oh, Amanda Plummer was gorgeous in it. She was so lovely. She was so lovely. Really, you need to put this down. You have to do it in ink, no pencil. You have to watch this stuff. I do. Supernatural and Fisher King.
I do have sheets of paper in front of me, Chris. Unfortunately, I do not have a writing utensil
That's
on
all
my
right. You have
person
the video.
Yeah, that's true.
You have no
I,
excuse.
I'm more of a visual person than anything else, so I will grant you that one.
Perfect.
It's absolutely fine. And George Bueller is here with us. He has a wonderful question for you, Chris.
Hi,
He
George.
says, is there a dream project you want to do or an existing project that you would like to be a part of?
I would like to do anything Terry Gilliam or Terry Gilliam adjacent. I think they're doing a remake of Time Bandits, which is one of his early films. I would love to be on something like that, and a nice juicy character. Time Bandits. You write that one down too, or rewatch this and watch Time Bandits.
You know, I'm sitting here. I'm doing the best I can. It's not a mediator, Clyde. It's moderator. And Chris over here is giving me all these notes. I'm thinking to myself, who's interviewing who? I feel like the tables are starting to get turned on me back here. What is happening?
Fair dues.
Good Lord, man. Jeez.
Yeah. Yeah, something like that, or I think something fantasy-esque as well. Like I know it's everybody says it, but Game of Thrones is like something like that. You know, maybe not the second season as much as the House of Dragons or whatever. I wasn't as fond of that as the first one, just because the first season was, or the first iteration was so dynamic. Like learning about all these. I mean, granted, the new iteration, you didn't need to explain who everyone was. And in the first iteration, you had to kind of like delve into who all these different nations were and stuff like that. But something like that, something just so meaty, is incredible to me.
Absolutely a fair point. Piggybacking off the previous question, is there an actor or an actress you would love to work with that you haven't yet?
I really think, and this might be a little odd, but John Malkovich. He's so like articulate and kind of lends an atmosphere to every single thing that he does. It's so easy to watch, and you can just digest what he's doing, and it's as if he's sort of figuring it out in the process as he's doing it too. And I just love that kind of actor that's like predictable in their unpredictability, I guess. To me, John Malkovich has been one of my favorites for so long. I loved, like Dangerous Liaison, and just he's so good. He's so incredible.
I actually really liked his performance in The Line of Fire with Clint Eastwood.
Con Air. Like everything he does. Rounders. Like, remember him in Rounders?
Oh, he does all night long. Chick, 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 chick.
Chick, 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 chick.
And then he holds everything back, right? He says, hold on.
Yeah.
He beat me.
Yeah.
Straight up. Pay him. Pay that man his money.
It's the opposite of what, every other actor would do. He beat me. Pay him his money. It's so delicious. You can't help but just like.
While he was eating Oreos.
Yeah, I loved his Oreo thing. That was probably him too. Like they fit in the poker rack nicely. So he's like, I'm gonna do this.
The container of cookies. It was a container of cookies. Clyde Hall has a great question here in the chat. Clyde Hall says, if you had a chance to be the center pin character in an animated series or feature film playing a version of yourself, what kind of show would that be for you?
What kind of animation is like Clone High and stuff like that?
Not sure. I'm not familiar with that.
Is it Flash animation? Is that what it's called?
Maybe.
Maybe something like that. Or is the guy's name Ralph Bakshi, the guy who did the OG Lord of the Rings or Hobbit cartoon?
Ooh,
maybe you could help. I don't know. Something
Let us know
like
in the
that.
chat.
Something maybe like heavy metal. Do you remember the old heavy metal animations? Something like that would be incredible. And like a sort of, I don't know. I haven't really played a thug, so I think it would be kind of cool to play some sort of thug too.
I see.
Action style animation. I think what he did was he like animated on the film itself or something, and then there was like film behind it. It was a very, very cool and trippy kind of animation.
Sure. I think some people are chiming in here with our question. George Bueller says rotoscope animation.
Aha.
I believe is the form we were trying to
Yep.
look for. And then Kristen chimes in. She says it's Raskin base.
Oh, Raskin base. Okay, thank
Yeah.
you. Thank you.
Yes, that's what it was.
That's what I get for just throwing something out into the wind. It's totally off.
It's okay. No problem. No problem. Is there a genre that you have not worked in before that you would like to work in sometime at some point in the future?
I think I've done most genres. I'm trying to think of one I haven't done. So I've done like Hallmark, I've done horror, I've done comedy, I've done drama, and I've done sci-fi. I did 2 Stargates.
Mhm.
Maybe like delving deep into a separate genre. Maybe like like I was in rom-com. Maybe like like full-on serious drama. Like when Adam Sandler did Spanglish, I think, and then there was Punch Drunk Love. Those for me were incredible. Just seeing somebody so far out of their comfort zone. And then Uncut Gems, was that the latest one he did?
Yes.
Yeah. So like doing something sort of like just straight, just 100% straight. I think that would be fascinating. Not like not adding character to anything, or just not like adding stuff to it, just to be bare boned, bearing my soul style movie.
That's a fair point. That's fair. Krista Marie says, would you be up for being a part of a musical?
Heck yeah, we did a musical episode on Once Upon a Time, and I just loved it. I was terrible at dancing, if you'll notice when you watch the episode. I'm like put behind a few people. Well, it was funny because they had basically all the stuntmen and all the dancers practicing a whole bunch, but for Colin and I, we got to practice twice. Which is ironic because we're the ones who like, I mean, the stunt people, of course, would need extra rehearsals as well because they're not typically trained dancers or anything. But the trained dancers had all sorts, and that makes sense because they had to have the structure going, right? But Colin and I only got like 2 rehearsals with them, and I'm terrible anyway at dancing. I freely admit that. But I would love to do a musical as long as I didn't have to dance.
Ooh, excellent stuff. Excellent stuff. Clyde Hall chimes in. He says, if you had the chance to bring a comic book character to life, hero, villain, or support, who would you choose?
Ooh. Can we loop back to that one? I feel like there's one in there that's going to just find itself.
Oh, sure. No problem.
I don't know. I mean, the easy thing would be to say Kingpin. Who's the Rhino dude?
Well, there's the Rhino from Spider-Man, but the Kingpin has been portrayed by Michael Clark Duncan in the Ben Affleck Daredevil film, and then he was also portrayed by Vincent D'Onofrio in the Charlie Cox led Daredevil series. So the Kingpin has been brought to life a few times, yes.
And I'm totally against body type for it, but Gambit.
Okay. They tried. I mean, he was in one movie. It was X-Men Origins Wolverine, but
yeah, I think I know I'm not the type for it. You would need somebody like the guy from what was that vampire show on HBO?
Oh, you mean True Blood?
True Blood. So the guy who does that legitimate like New Orleans accent.
Is it Alexander Skarsgård?
Michael. He was on Once Upon a Time too, actually.
Oh gosh. I'm blanking on his name. I apologize.
He's got that real Cajun kind of accent, and it's incredible. I could see him doing it also.
Huh.
Yeah, I'm blanking on his name, but like Gambit, I always loved him with the cards and all that kind of stuff. I think he's super duper cool. Yeah,
that's a good point. That's a good choice. Did you ever watch the animated series back in the 90s?
No.
Oh my goodness, you got to watch X-Men the animated series. X-Men the animated series is some of the best television work ever put on screen. Feel free to check it out. It's on a streaming service. That's hashtag not a sponsor, Disney Plus.
Nice.
It's all there. You can stream it. Hey, you're giving me homework. I'm going to present you with a homework assignment here,
I
Chris.
actually have heard that X-Men is the animated series is really.
It is. Yeah. It is phenomenal. You got to watch it.
Cool.
You got to do it.
Cool.
Got to do it. Got to get on it. And Krista Marie chimes in. She says, "How about any stage work? Would you be up for that?"
I love theater. I've done a lot of theater. Got my I cut my boots in theater, treading the boards, as they say. I started out in my local theater in Armstrong, British Columbia, Canada, with the Asparagus Theater Company, and then we did quite well. We had a good sort of nucleus. We ended up going to the provincials, essentially, the BC Provincial Performing Arts Festivals, and we did really well in that. I've done some professional theater with a stage company called the Caravan Farm Theater, which does all of their shows outside. We did the Beggar's Opera underneath a big tent with Clydesdale's horse, like running through the big top. We had like a live band in the middle. We had like our lead actor climb the pole to the top of the big tent and like come down on like a pulley system. It was amazing. I love theater. If I could go back, I would. It's hard when you have kids and you're trying to make money. There's not a whole lot of money in theater compared to the time that you put into theater. And you can do like 2 days on film and, and be okay for the next couple months.
Oh, I see. I
Yeah,
see. Well,
theater
that's
does not pay.
understandable.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I would love to do that.
That's understandable. Outside of acting, what do you have any hobbies that you enjoy doing?
I love skateboarding.
Hmm.
I'm not as good as I used to, so really it's just kind of like cruising around at this point. I love skateboarding. I've been getting into cooking, which probably would have helped me when I was Vincent. I had an affinity for food. I just liked eating it. But I really enjoy cooking now when I do, and yeah. Drawing. I like drawing. Music. I love music. I was in a band for a little while. We didn't really do that many live things, but it's more just like the jamming aspect of music for me, and I love now that my kids have really gotten a taste for it, and both of my sons are great singers and really good on guitar. So if I could impart anything to them, it would be that, a zest for the arts and that community.
Rock on, man.
Yeah.
That's solid, man.
Yeah.
For 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 sure. What would you say is your favorite movie quote?
Oh man, I should have this stuff written down. There's a show called With Nail and I, and it's sort of this very cynical. It's this old British film.
Mm-hmm.
Amazing. And there's this scene. They're two actors, and they just live in this squalor in London, and they have all these sort of like bad dealings with like drug dealers coming over and stuff like this. That's not sort of the central aspect of the movie. It's about these two sort of like, it's basically like a Waiting for Godot. It's these two actors that live together, and they're just waiting for a break. They're waiting for just something to happen the entire movie. And they end up needing to get out of London for a spell, and they end up in the countryside, and they're talking to this farmer, and they say, "You there, farmer, we've come on holiday by mistake." And that one sticks out to me. We've come on holiday by mistake. It's silly, but it's so good. Watch With Nail and I. That's comedy.
I have a feeling that my list is just going to grow to more than 6 miles long, Chris. So yeah,
but you know what? It's all good stuff. You can trust me.
It is.
It's great stuff.
Oh, no, I mean, how can you not trust Toyman from Smallville? I gotta trust you.
Exactly. No sinister ulterior motives.
No, of course not. By the way, Willow Schuyler is here, and she says, "I knew you sounded Canadian. Hello from the Great White North."
Oh, rad.
Yeah.
Where are you from?
Willow's actually from Manitoba.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Cool. We've been
good friend Willow's from Manitoba.
We've been through Manitoba.
Great stuff. And Molly Daniels has a question for you. Favorite band or singer?
So, favorite singer, just on like, holy crap, this guy is amazing, is Freddie Mercury. Favorite band, there is literally way too many. For a long time, it was Primus, and then my all-time fave is Ween. Dean and Gene Ween of Ween. And they did a lot of collabs with Primus. They did some stuff with South Park. They're amazing. They're like sort of a multi-genre. It's almost like a joke band, but they are absolutely the bee's knees. I feel like that would be really easy homework for you, and that would be. I know, but you can do this while you're sorting out DVDs and finding your places. Just have Ween on in the background. And honestly, they have like a country album. They have like a sort of like, I wouldn't want to say thrash, but like they have an album called Godween Saint, which is more just like driving, kind of like real lo-fi type stuff. But they have everything you can imagine. And he's got, and Aaron Freeman or Gene Ween has such a tender voice, and as I get older, I realize, him by himself is great too. So Ween definitely, and then Primus probably for just some real hard driving stuff, and System of a Down is another really good one. It's another great one.
I've actually heard System of a Down, so there you go, guys.
Nice.
I've done a little bit of homework already.
Yeah.
It's still 6 miles long here, fellas, but I'll get there one of these days.
But Ween, dude, is like honestly, there will be something in there that you will be familiar with. There's something. There's like they hit that spot. They just hit that spot, and they're great at what they do. So they made this entire country album. It's called 12 Country Greats. There's 10 songs on it, and they ace it. They ace the friggin' thing. It's so good.
Oh boy, George Bueller chimes in. He says, "Ween, 12 Golden Country Greats is a fantastic record, according to George."
Right. That's right. The Mollusk. You have to check out the Mollusk. The Mollusk lingers with its wandering eye. It's fantasy-driven stuff. It's a lot of like, it's a lot of just really just out there as you can imagine stuff. They were on the movie It's Pat.
Oh.
And their big song was Push the Little Daisies and Make Them Come Up. So if you haven't heard that one, you haven't probably heard them. And I bet you have heard that song, you just don't know.
Yeah.
You heard it and you were like, oh, cool.
Let's be honest. Ryan has been living under a rock for 35 years, whereas Chris knows everything about everything. So I'm just thinking to myself, what is happening?
Come on. It's just where your genres take you. You know what I mean? You knew about X-Men, the animated series.
It's true, because I grew up on it. So
that's right. There you go.
Yeah.
I grew up on Ween.
It's okay. I grew up on Marvel and DC properties as a kid.
Nice.
So, well, among other things, I grew up on movies because movies are one of my favorite things in sliced bread, and I've been quoting them with my friends and whoever else is willing to hear me since I was 4.
What's your favorite movie?
This is gonna throw a wrench into the comment section below. I can guarantee you guys. My favorite movie right now, just because I saw it so many times in the theater when it debuted a few years back, just to be perfectly clear, Star Wars: The Force Awakens. I love that movie.
Wow.
I love Star Wars, and I think The Force Awakens is a wonderful film. I don't care what anyone says.
Good on you. You're on an island with that one.
Yeah.
I'm just kidding.
Thanks, Chris.
I'm just kidding.
You just brought my self-esteem up to 0.
I think that's fantastic that you hold that one in such high esteem.
I do.
I think it's
love
great.
it. Saw it 6 times in the theater. Not ashamed to say.
Wow. Nice one.
Yeah. I got the movie poster on my wall too.
Nice.
I do.
Favorite line to quote?
Ooh, I would say everything's perfectly fine. We're all fine here. No, thank you. How are you? From the original Star Wars film with Han Solo's, talking to that guy over the PA system.
Yeah, wicked.
in the jail cell, you know what I mean? In the detention block, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's what I was going with.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah.
I think my favorite TV line to quote would be,
sure.
I remember the day I bagged my first hippie. He didn't think it was too groovy, which is Mr. Burns.
Oh.
He's released the hounds at his house. I remember the day I bagged my first hippie. He didn't think it was too groovy. I use that tons.
That is just more phenomenal. What I would say, what is the best piece of advice you've ever been given in your life?
just do what your heart wants you to do.
Mhm.
I lived it, I subscribed to it, and I did it. And, I mean, I can't imagine being anywhere else and earning a living out of such joy. It's been incredible, and I just believed that I could do it, and I it's not to say it's always been easy. There's a lot of stuff you have to do to follow through. There's training. I did a lot of training. Did a lot of theater, did a lot of like independent stuff. But if you love something, just do it. Just stick to it, and find the means to get there. Because it's just one life. So do the thing that you enjoy, and just believe you can do it. And to whatever level of success you get to is only dependent on you and how you feel about that level of success. You know what I mean? I'm quite happy being a blue collar actor. I'm quite happy, not necessarily having like my character as being the lead animated character or whatever. I'm happy to support, and I'm happy. I just love doing what I do. That feels like a good end quote.
I was about to say that. That's another Star Wars quote. I'm getting to that. But we want to take this opportunity to say thank you to Chris Gauthier for spending some time with us, supporting this wonderful, wonderful event known as the Multiverse FunRaiser, benefiting the John Ritter Foundation for Aortic Health. Chris, thank you so much for spending a little bit of time with us on this program. Where can the person watching or listening to this follow you on social media to keep up with your projects?
All my socials are Captain Gauthier, and please keep an eye out for Joe Pickett season 2. And we don't know when it's coming out yet.
Right on. Well,
this year.
Oh, this year. Okay. Fantastic stuff. Thank you so much, Chris, for being here. We do appreciate it. That is going to conclude day number 1 of the Multiverse FunRaiser 2023. But fear not, we are going to return on Saturday, January the 21st at 9 a.m. Eastern Time. That's 8 a.m. Central Time. Just to be clear, that is when we are going to be returning to continue this incredible ride known as the Multiverse FunRaiser with wonderful people, wonderful moderators, wonderful guests. And we invite you to join us as well in the comments, asking our people questions, all that sort of stuff. Chris, once again, thank you so much for being here. Thank you to everyone who is making this event possible. Thank you to Amy Yazbek. Thank you to everyone at the John Ritter Foundation for Aortic Health. We cannot do this without you. With that being said, that is going to conclude our broadcast day. As the old saying goes, way back when in the day when Ryan and Chris, some of us weren't even born yet. But guess what? It's all fun and games, and we love to entertain. So remember to stay healthy, stay strong, stay safe, like, comment, share, subscribe, smash that notification bell, do all that stuff. Please make a donation. The links are located in the description below. It's currently scrolling across the bottom of your screen. Yes, absolutely. And in case I don't see you, good afternoon, good evening, and good night. Phenomena.
Our charity partner for this year's Multiverse FunRaiser is the John Ritter Foundation for Aortic Health. They exist to spread awareness of aortic health and prevent unnecessary suffering through genetic research, widespread education, and radical advocacy. Simply click on the link at our website, www.themultiversefundraiser.com, that says donate here, and that will take you to our Just Giving link. All donations go directly to the John Ritter Foundation for Aortic Health. As a bonus, every $10 donation that you give enters you into our sweepstakes to win fantastic prizes. All information can be found at our website under giveaway. So thank you for watching, and thank you for supporting.